This is Bolsa Chica State Beach. It is located in Huntington Beach, California, and it is one of the many estuaries located on the west coast of the United States. Estuaries are partially isolated from the sea and diluted by freshwater. They are areas of constant environmental change, including salinity, temperature, nutrient levels, and light levels. They are classified through their geology, water circulation, and the prominent organisms that live in them. Estuaries are important for societies and the seafood industry. They provide aesthetic value for communities as well as a place for many organisms to mature in shallow, safe waters. Their constant upwelling equals a good marine life. Estuaries are highly productive due to the large amounts of sunlight they receive and the variety of plants and animals that thrive in them. The Bolsa Chica estuary runs about 7 miles long and includes the Bolsa Chica Ecological Reserve Site, Sunset Shore Bay and Huntington Harbor, and the Seal Beach National Wildlife Refuge. The water has little to no wave energy, which allows many organisms to thrive there without need of certain survival features. There are also land mammals and reptiles that use the Bolsa Chica estuary as their home and habitat. The Bolsa Chica estuary is also a protected part of California. Bolsa Chica's general community characteristics include a mixture of tidal channels, mudflats, and salt marshes, surrounded by coastal dunes. These habitats support a diverse range of wildlife, including wading birds like egrets, shorebirds, and fiddler crabs, as well as specialized salt-tolerant plants such as pickleweed. Some of the physical factors that influence Bolsa Chica is tidal influence, with regular tides bringing in seawater, shaping the salinity and water levels that support the ecosystem. Another one is sediment dynamics. Mudflats are formed by deposition, providing habitat for invertebrates and feeding ground for birds. And the last one is the mild coastal climate. With a moderate temperature and seasonal rainfall year-round, this supports a stable environment. Some biological factors that influence Bolsa Chica is vegetation, wildlife interactions, and human impact. Vegetation, plants like pickleweed and cordgrass stabilize the soil, providing shelter for multiple animals. Many wildlife interactions include birds feeding on fish and invertebrates, while the estuary's fish populations rely on the shelter of the submerged vegetation, as mentioned before. The estuary is a critical habitat for both resident and migratory species, underscoring its importance as a biodiversity hotspot. Some of the most common and ecologically significant organisms in the Bolsa Chica estuary are the California killifish, blue heron, great egret, ducks, squirrels, lizards, western sandpiper, algae, pickleweed, and the fiddler crab. One phyla in the Bolsa Chica estuary is the Chordata phylum. In this phylum is the great egret, and this large wading bird is known for its long neck, white feathers, and sharp yellow bill. It hunts in shallow waters, feeding on fish, amphibians, and invertebrates, which makes the Bolsa Chica habitat very good for its survival. Another phylum is the Arthropoda phylum. A species that is in this phylum is the fiddler crab, and these small crabs inhabit the mudflats that are easily identified by the male's oversized claw. They play a vital role in aerating the soil and consuming organic matter. The third phylum is Mollusca, and this phylum houses the California horned snail. And this is a small spiral-shelled snail found in the estuary's mudflats. It feeds on detritus and algae, contributing to nutrient cycling. Another phylum is the Cnidaria phylum, and this houses the moon jellyfish.
These translucent, bell-shaped jellyfish are sometimes seen in the estuary's waters. They feed on plankton and serve as prey for larger marine animals. The estuary provides critical habitat for migratory birds, nursery grounds for fish, and refuge for threatened species. The estuary provides critical habitat for migratory birds, nursery grounds for fish, and refuge for threatened species. Organisms like snails, crabs, and worms decompose organic matter, enriching the soil and water with nutrients. Vegetation like pickleweed absorbs and stores carbon, helping mitigate climate change. Predators like great egrets and the blue heron help regulate populations of invertebrates and fish, maintaining an ecological balance. These organisms and their interactions form a complete and interdependent network, ensuring estuaries' health and resilience. Organisms in the Bolsa Chica estuary interact through predation, such as great egrets feeding on fiddler crabs and small fish, which influences population dynamics. Habitat engineering through fiddler crabs that aerate the soil, which benefits the pickleweed through root oxygenation. Nutrient cycling with horned snails process detritus, recycling nutrients that support pickleweed growth and nutrient exposure. Pickleweed stabilizes the environment and provides a primary energy source for herbivores and detrivores, which stems from the bottom of the food web, allowing all other consumers to thrive. The Bolsa Chica estuary faces various environmental challenges, both natural and anthropogenic, that impact its ecological health and surrounding human community. Some environmental challenges that Bolsa Chica faces on a natural level is a sea level rise, which causes higher tides to inundate salt marsh habitats and threatening salt-tolerant vegetation like pickleweed and the species that depend on it. Another challenge is extreme weather events. This increased storm frequency and intensity can erode mudflats and salt marshes, which destabilize habitats for invertebrates and fish. Sudden habitat changes force species to migrate or die, reducing the ecosystem resilience and variety. Another challenge is salinity changes. Changes in salinity due to fluctuating freshwater inflows can stress salt marsh vegetation and aquatic species. This altered salinity can lead to reduced food availability for dependent birds and fish. Some anthropogenic challenges is urban development and encroachment. This is an expansion of nearby residential and commercial areas that disrupts habitats, increases pollution, and limits space for wildlife. The urban runoff brings pollutants such as fertilizers, pesticides, and heavy metals, which degrade the water quality and harm aquatic life. Another challenge is pollution. Trash, oil spills, and chemical runoff harm marine organisms and birds and disrupt nutrient cycles. Visitors and residents face degraded aesthetics and recreational value, and ecological services like water filtration. A recreational disturbance is also observed, with the overuse of trails and improper human behavior, such as feeding wildlife and off-trail activities, disturbs sensitive species and degrades their habitat. Declining biodiversity impacts ecotourism and educational programs, reducing revenue for local businesses and conservation projects. The degradation of habitats limits the ability of the estuary to serve as a living classroom for schools and conservation groups. Some conservation efforts in place to help the Bolsa Chica estuary thrive is the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, which oversees the Bolsa Chica Ecological Reserve, focusing on habitat restoration and protection. The Bolsa Chica Conservancy, which engages in education, restoration, and volunteer efforts to maintain estuarine health. Programs including invasive species, monitoring wildlife, and educating visitors.